Today we're going to be putting it together. We're looking over here at what appears to be perhaps a descending wedge forming on Bitcoin, but we're going to be looking at this technical breakdown we're seeing from this possible head and shoulders. If you call that a head and shoulders with a breakdown, a retest, and a resumption off. What's going on, everyone? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. Happy Thursday. I hope you are all doing well. Wherever you are in the world right now, I'm so glad that you found us, that you're here with us. Summer session. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. We're going to focus on the technicals and do what we do best. Make sure we stay on the right side of the most important trade that matters. Look, the Bears have, what appears to be a lot of momentum here, especially after this trend line break. This is after price made that first lower low than the previous long swing low, connecting that over there. When that trend line broke, that's the move that the Bears, this was the heart of the move, the sweet spot of this trade. For those, I know a lot of people down here in the $30,000 to $35,000 range looking at Bitcoin as an opportunity to sell, but this was really the place to attack over here if you were a bear. I mean, all throughout this, if you were attacking as a bear, then you got, you were in a strong bullish trend. This is when we finally start starting the trend break down. And if you were getting it, this is when you were getting it. What about right now, right? That's the question that everyone's asking themselves. What happens next? By the way, if you've seen the new update on TradingView app, at least for OS, it's been a few weeks now, a couple of weeks. They've just you click on the chart and it pulls up this screen with the blue line chart. And you're like, where's my charts? You got to click on the top right over there to get to, and it's annoying to do each and every time. So I found myself looking at these blue line charts a lot more, recently. Like this is what it looks like on my phone. And you know what? Oh, wow. What that looks like what does that look like to you? Let me drop down to the 8-hour. Yeah, that's a descending wedge. It looks pretty clear that right now Bitcoin is trading within a descending wedge. I mean, obviously quite bullish. This pattern normally breaks out to the upside. It doesn't have to. It could break down to the downside. That's entirely possible, right? So what happens if it breaks up and what happens if it breaks down? I think that's what we want to look at right now. And we're coming right, by the way, I'm still doing all of my trend lines on the candle charts because I need to set them off of wicks and bodies and with greater precision. So I'm just viewing this, I find myself all day yesterday looking at this type of charts across all. It works really well. I like it. You're going to see me like this now for going forward. A breakout outside of this descending wedge, that takes us into the most important trend line in crypto, right? And that would be the opportunity for the bears to actually launch a big counter rally, right? Counter rally because we're in a massive uptrend, right? Bears have near-term momentum ever since we saw that breakdown. Now, if the bears lose control on this battle skirmish over here, this is the big one. And they have the opportunity to defend the most important trend line in crypto. If they can't, it's on. The new all-time highs should be relatively quickly, in my opinion. Do your own research, not financial advice. However, at the same time, by the way, if you're enjoying spending this time together, if you're grateful for it and you want to help support me and my work, go ahead and smash that like button. And if you're new here, welcome. Definitely subscribe. We do this every day, Monday through Friday. Take a look across all markets, especially with focus on Bitcoin, right? You have to pay attention on the most important trade that matters. But nevertheless, from afar, we have the best vantage point of all markets. That's for sure. If we break out over here, if the bears, this is assuming we break outside this wedge right here. We're in a wedge today. We could be rejected by this resistance and break down. We'll look at what that looks like afterwards. Right now we're looking for the bullish case of Bitcoin. What would have to line up for this to break outside this wedge? And if it breaks outside this descending wedge, what happens? Well, then we're looking at a test of the most important trend line in crypto. If the most important trend line in crypto breaks out to the upside, then new all-time high should be relatively quickly, in my opinion, right? You all know that it's going to be a V and it's going to be sharp. Listen, right? If we see them reject over here, the bears hold this area, this important level, and take it down. all of a sudden this becomes a very important test, depending on what the bears could do here. It might consolidate here for a little while before breaking out to the upside, but inevitably, it's inevitable it breaks out to the upside. In my opinion, not financial advice. What about the bears? What are they holding on to over here? And if you take a look at it, it's very clear and clean. Like, some people right now could be saying, well, this is not a head and shoulders because this right shoulder is really long and it doesn't have the symmetry at all of the left shoulder. And you could say that, and that might be true. And I might also add, like, well, normally this descending wedge doesn't break down, especially in an uptrend. And I'm in an uptrend, throw on a log scale, and if you can't see that you're in an uptrend, yeah, there was a damage done over here for sure, and that was a place for the bears to and the bear, by the way, the bear was a lot bigger than I thought. The bear was bigger for sure. Because, like, at first I wasn't so worried about some silly dancing bears, 40% drawdown, right? But come on, when you're talking 53% drawdown, that bear was a little bit bigger for sure, And there we are right now. So what are those bears doing? Like, you got to go ahead and see that this trend line over here is the neckline. If this is a head and shoulders, indeed, this is the neckline. Let me just highlight it. And you can see that neckline has been breached. We've come up and retested that neckline and are now resuming off, making a lower low. It's entirely bearish. It's very, very, very bearish if you break this line to the downside, right? At this point, that's holding clearly as support. You could see it's holding as support from this vantage point, and that's where we are. That's what its battle lines are drawn. Yesterday the bears defended, right? Yesterday the bulls defended. Why the bears had massive momentum to the downside, breaking down outside this, well, either way, trend line breakout, retest, and resumption off of it. I don't know if it's a head and shoulders or not. It looks like it. I think it's gonna fail, but that's what it looks like for sure as a head and shoulders. Breaks below this trend line now outside of this descending wedge, and watch out. For right now, though, the bulls were able to hold an important level. The lowest close, for this mid-cycle. We'll take a look at that in a second. Let's jump forward, right? We got Randall, Family Randall, big shout out, lots of love. Updating the bull of all bulls over here. This is centered on the first breakout of the previous all-time high, lining up the cycles. And you can see this cycle is very different from the previous two. Very different. It is lagging greatly at this point in time. You can see the uptrend from this area over here, from right around day, let's call it 165 in the previous cycles, was sloping upwards. And to date, this has been sloping downwards. If you want to call that a mini bear market, I mean, you could call it as you will, right? It was an impulse to the downside for sure, right? Here it's lined up really well with the red. After price made the lower swing low, setting up the trend line, when that broke down, that they really put in a leg down. Whether that's a small bear market or how much longer it's going to last, things are lining up right now. If the bulls are able to defend, they defended yesterday. If they're able to carry forward and break out to the upside over here, there's a good chance that they gain back control. The narrative shifted yesterday. It's more, most people are up like, Elon doesn't know anything about Bitcoin. He didn't teach me anything. That was a waste of time, and what you have to understand that wasn't for you. That this was for institutional money. I don't think that, fund managers were like watching that yesterday with great interest. I was, because I saw what was happening 3 weeks ago when I knew that they were going to change the narrative on Bitcoin, perhaps sending, what we said, that's what might take us out of the mid-cycle. And it looks like it may. There's a possibility. It's very important because they gave the green approval that now institutions, that Bitcoin is ESG and or moving towards it. So as they, these things take time to move massive amounts of money. You're talking, I heard a survey yesterday from just high net worth individuals, not high net worth institutions, and like 70% of them were managing at least over $1 billion, and 48% or 24% over $5 billion. I mean, They had said 15% overall, just like us. My daughter was asking me yesterday, like, how many people own Bitcoin? And I thought about it for a second, and I was like 15%. 15% of the population of the world, of the U.S. owns Bitcoin, and she's like, oh, okay. you know so it's the same thing with institutions, large family offices, I should say. About 15% of them right now own Bitcoin. You're talking they're managing billion. I'm sorry, it was family offices. It was family offices, and the size of the family offices are ridiculously high. Like 24%, 5 billion and over, and it was 48%. Excuse my math, excuse my number before when I told you 70%. It was a total of 48% having 1 billion or more, and then 24% having 5 billion or more. It's a massive amount of money, and they're now going to be, through Goldman, looking to take positions into the cryptocurrency market. Yes, some of that will be in Ethereum. Some of that might be speculating, even on XRP for all I know, But either which way, largely it's going to go into Bitcoin, no question about that, right? I don't know. I digress. I don't know where I came in with that, but I wanted to jump over to the chart over here where we're talking about Ethereum, Bitcoin. Again, Ian lining it up for us, continuing, and you can see in red is the current cycle that we're looking at, and you can see something that stands out very clear. But more importantly than it's standing out so clear to you right now is the fact that before it transpired, we were looking for that to happen, right? Go back to the training series that we did months ago, and we were talking about what my base case was from Ethereum, Bitcoin, continuing to play out exactly as last cycle. Now, there's a big difference between what's happening in Ethereum and Bitcoin themselves. We'll look at that in 1 second. But you could see in green was the previous cycle going back to 2017 during the bull market. And you could see the waves that were taking place in light green on Ethereum, Bitcoin. And they continued from this point mid-cycle to make lower lows over here until we got towards the end in the second alt season, right? The first alt season, obviously massive, as Ethereum was a very new asset. This was its first bull market run, and you could see the massive first alt season and then the second alt season. This first alt season obviously has been a lot lower, but you could see since that everything is lined up very clean, and that's just an indication that we're exactly where we think we are in the cycle. This is probably, for me, one of the most important indicators that we are currently mid-cycle during this 2021 bull market, because you can see right here, Ethereum, Bitcoin is right mid-cycle. All right, as we bring it down now, Ethereum and Bitcoin themselves, we have Ethereum in red and Bitcoin in blue. This is the current cycle. And you could see the big difference that we're seeing. Last time it was like Ethereum outperformed, but it would make moves first, then Bitcoin second. The whole way through, they've been tracking each other. But when Bitcoin comes off, Ethereum has come off less. You could see the separation first in this area, and then they're tracking each other perfectly. And then you could see the separation again. They're still tracking each other in unison, like with perfect symmetry, except that Ethereum continues to outperform. Again, this was something that we wanted to see in the bull market, foresaw, and is now occurring. Another sign that we are right on time. Now, what happens going forward? Are we going to see Ethereum consolidate for a prolonged period of time with Bitcoin making a big move against it? That's what happened last cycle. I don't know if it's going to happen again. Here you can see it. Here's Ethereum peaking first, then Bitcoin. Ethereum peaking first, then Bitcoin. And now you can see that they've been on track so far so this year. They're exactly mirroring each other. Going forward, Ian really believes that I think they're going to mirror each other. It's something to watch for. They actually absolutely have to date. And as Ethereum is now a much more mature market, it's not its first bull run, it's now its second. You can see that it's way more closely aligned to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the rising tide that lifts all boats, right? And when the tide goes out, they're all going to sink, except they all sink faster than Bitcoin on the way out. And then people are left wondering, why am I holding this? But that's a different story for a different day. Let's keep going. What are we looking at? Boom. This is, again, Ted, CTM, modeling crew, Jesse, every single one of you, Ian, thank you so much for the continued work that you put in. I know that you're enjoying the summer, and it's what a time to enjoy it. Plan B did it right when he took off on his yacht for 6 weeks in the summer. There's nothing going on over here, but we're lining it up. We're putting in the work we need to put in every day to make sure that we do this right. By the way, if you still haven't, because we have over 250 people in the room, but we are light on likes with 259 likes. Please go ahead and smash that and get me fired up to get going over here. What are we looking at? What am I looking at? There you go. You can hit the thumbs down too. You get to vote and vote as you will. I love when the thumb downs come raining in, because you know what that means? Either the mic's off, that happens a lot when the mic's off. People are like, Jordan, or that people are just helping the algorithm. Like, copy the share button, smash the like down button. There's a lot of information out there on that interweb, especially here in the markets, and it's all very confusing. Very very small amount of it is actually signal and just pure information. It's hard to find. Help people find it. So over here we're looking at the staging model of CTM model. If indeed we're looking at the low, January 20th, and now lining this up from the low, bringing us into the close. That's one of the things that we've been waiting for ever since everything has been unclear. Like when I thought originally this was the V and we were coming down, it was easy to line things up. It looked like it was the V, and then you know what? At a few weeks later, I'm like, you know what? That's not true, because a V is a V. This has come back down and tested the area where it begun. So I'm saying, like, look, I was wrong. That's not a V. No big deal. Let's get back on the right side of the trade, right? Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to sell Bitcoin for this impulse down over here. And if I tried to sell every down impulse in Bitcoin for the past year, I've been getting chewed up. So why do that, right? But are you going to start selling from down here, or did you get it from the front? Did you get it like on the trend turn and nail it? A lot of people are selling down over here. They might get another leg down. It's entirely possible. Is it true that all models are broken if that happens? Is it true that if we have a massive deviation to the downside from this particular important time, that all models are broken? Well, our model here at CTM is looking at what the price has done. We're looking at past price behavior, and we're looking at future price behavior, and it's all we could do is look at price, right? So you can't break. It can't break. It's it doesn't make sense. Now, we're still within a 4-year cycle of Bitcoin, or should I say, is this trade still surrounded about the halving event every 210,000 blocks? 100%, of course. It looks like everything's on time. Been very consistent and firm about that the whole way through. Massive difference in this prolonged descending move over here compared to past cycles. At this, when you line it up, whether you're looking at how many days past the halving event, whether you're lining it up looking at how many days first the first break of the previous all-time high, in each way you look it up, there's a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences. What does it mean going forward? Well, one of the core ideas that we've held throughout all of this is, as price puts in that mid-cycle low, lining this up going forward, what the past cycles did going forward gives us the best edge. We'll see if that plays out. That's what we're looking for. Jesse lining up some important events, affirming the same work that Ian's done in taking this from the mid-cycle low and then bringing us into the end, conquering the markets all day long. And that brings us to where we are right now. Bitcoin's unchanged on the day, and it's still into the resistance, right? It needs to break outside to this resistance if the bulls are mounting a challenge, right? The bears, do they have their chance? Is it unfolding? It's very clear that we have a breakdown, retest, resumption. So if you are in the bear camp right now, right, and maybe you were selling the tops over here, right, and you caught a big move and you held on and you push it, what are you doing now? Are you looking as this is your exit if you break outside this descending wedge? Is this your stop loss over here? And at that point, right, do a lot of bears also in profit now give up, or are they going to hold this? Are they going to hold and let this go against them? Or are you holding this? This is assuming that breaks out to the upside. That's assuming this trend line breaks right over here. If it doesn't, and this holds as resistance, and we roll over now, and make that lower low, breaking down outside that descending wedge, right? We could see a massive deviation to the downside. We've looked at levels that we think will come in. All we do is clone the most important trend line in crypto, right? Let me go ahead and do that right now. I don't like that yellow color. Let me change the color first. Drop down to this. Let me clone this line, and I'm going to show you. Now I'm going to do this using candles, though, not. What's going on? I'm on log chart. Let me go ahead and do this on candles, and then I'll revert back to my price line. All right. So, boom, let me clone the line, the most important trend line in crypto, bring it down. And if we break outside that descending wedge, there we go. Most likely, we're coming into this area and targeting the support. It's pretty low. It's very low. You're in that $20,000 area. That's a massive downside move. If you break outside that descending triangle, descending wedge, be aware. Be aware. All right, everyone. Good session. Thanks for being here today. If you're watching this on the replay crew, I hope you're having a really beautiful day. I hope we all have a beautiful day. And I'll see you all again tomorrow as we do it for our Friday session.